Hi everybody, just wanted to take a moment to show you guys how to grid out a 5 by 10 grid here. Alright, so I'm going to put my ruler on the edge of the paper there. I'm going to make sure I line it up with the first mark there. Now it doesn't really matter where you start this at, but you do just want to make sure that you're moving in 1/2 inch intervals, alright? So basically I'm starting on the 2 here, and then every 1/2 inch I put a mark. If you've noticed, I started somewhere near the top of the page, somewhere near the middle, and then at the bottom there. What we're doing right now is making our vertical lines for our grid, all right? I always measure 3 times. It's very important that you do this so that you can make sure that you have a nice straight line. You'll notice I'm going back and making an extra tick here. After I did this, I kind of realized, oops, I needed to do one extra line there. So, okay, so once I made those ticks, I'm basically just going to line the 3 of them up and bring my pencil down to make my vertical lines. Okay, if you want a little bit more information on why you do this and why it's important to do this 3 times, you can go ahead and skip forward and watch the setting up the whole paper thing there. So, okay, again, I'm going to start with my ruler put on the top of the paper there on one of the marks. Towards the right side here, I'm going and making 11 1/2 inch marks. Now we need 11 because we're making 10 boxes, and there's going to be an extra one because of the top and the bottom there. So just double check here, make sure there's 11. I'm going to move towards the middle now. Make sure I keep the same mark lined up at the top there, and I start at the same spot, and I'm just going to go down again and make 11 marks. We're doing this now to make the horizontal lines of our grid so that we can have them both be a 1/2 inch so they're nice and square. When you're wanting to make patterns and you want them to have, unity and to be balanced, you want to make sure that everything's nice and measured out. If you don't, it's not really a pattern as much as it's just kind of a random, assortment of things that happen to look the same. Okay. So I'm lining up those 3 marks and then coming across here to make those horizontal pieces. For your final, it's going to be important to draw these really lightly, so it's not a bad idea to try to practice that now. There's going to be some erasing involved when we go ahead and put the letters on these. So for example, if you're making a B, you may not need 2 of the boxes that are inside there for the holes between the top and the bottom of the B. If you draw them too dark, you're going to be stuck with a line that may not be easily erased or something like that. And then it just kind of takes away from the whole 3D aspect. So now is a great time to practice getting comfortable with your ruler, getting comfortable with anything like that. Okay. So we're all good on this front. I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys a couple of just kind of simplistic patterns now that you can do that are nice. Notice I'm going to fill these in even in the example nice and dark. When you're doing your warm-up, it's going to be important to show me that you can do that. You don't need to do it for the whole thing, just because it's going to be a little tedious, and I don't want you to get bored before the final. But it really makes them look sharp. It pops things out. It makes it feel more three-dimensional. So here's just a couple examples of what you can do. Quite honestly, the more simple these designs are, sometimes the better they actually look. When people get into some really complex patterns, it takes away from the piece as a whole. So if we're just doing simple things like cutting them at a diagonal, splitting them in half, checkerboarding, I don't do this in this, but if you just do every other one, right, the designs tend to be, not the focus of the piece. We want the whole piece to be the focus of the piece. Okay. It's important for a pattern to sometimes flip back and forth. Sometimes you don't need to do that, but I think for this project, doing kind of a positive negative split tends to look really good. So if you notice that first one that I did there with the diagonal and I filled in one side, well, maybe in the next one I'd want to change that to the other side being filled, or maybe I'd rotate it around. All right, just giving it a little bit of something different so that it's not so monotonous. Sometimes, it can be a little bit strenuous on the eye if it's just so dense and with one pattern. So breaking that up just by flip-flopping them is also a pattern. and can make them look a little bit better here. So I kind of show you an example of that here, where I did a circle in the middle, and then I did the surrounding area of the circle dark here. My hand's kind of covering it right now, but see, something like that. All right, you guys, that's probably it for today. Have fun making patterns, and hope you guys are doing all right. Bye.